My dear brothers and sisters, Mtumami is my name. Coca-Cola Company is my business that I'm to write a proposal. So according to the brief knowledge that I have, this company currently is employing 500 workers in a total of 4 locations. That is the northern part of Uganda, that's Kulu, and the central part of Uganda, that's Kampala, and Mbarara, which is the western part of Uganda. So far, this company has been in business for 50 years and has been selling products both locally and internationally. However, it has been using Amazon as a web service cloud provider. And then, however, it wants to improve on the locations and the number of workers. So therefore, there is need to have some kind of solution to their problems. So when they contacted me, I gave them the following recommendations. Number one is the deployment model. So the deployment model that I recommended this company to go for is a hybrid. Why did I choose hybrid? Is because with the hybrid, we are going to have some files being stored in the cloud, whereas other files are to be retained on the on premises. So I did so because the company owner uh, does not feel so good to migrate everything into the cloud. Therefore, there is need to have some files, some data being controlled on the premises, while as other data is controlled in the cloud, which qualifies for the hybrid model. Then when it comes to the service uh, model, I recommended the infrastructure as a service simply because these people are currently in need of more computers because they have employed more workers. And indeed, even the existing physical computers lack the storage, which would we are buying more hard drives, which are costly. So therefore, I would recommend this company to go for uh, IaaS, which is the infrastructure as a service. So when it came to the multi-regional cloud design, this is what I recommend this company to take, because if it's looking at the different regions where it's supposed to sell its products, this suits a multi-regional cloud of solution design. Then currently, this is the infrastructure of our company. We have got the IT infrastructures on Barra branch, similarly on the Group branch, the Kampala branch, which involves the routers, the wireless controllers, the computer storages, and network storage, and so on. And we have the satellite dish here, which is going to work as an alternative internet service provider if the service providers that we have are currently down. We have got remote users around here that are going to connect remotely using the VPN. Then when it came to the migration process, I was trying to look at how best can we assess this company. So when I ran a baseline kind of assessment, I realized that they need to move from 300 to 500. Originally, they had 300, but right now they have 500. So there's a need to buy more physical computers, which is expensive. And then even the currently used computers are lacking storage. And when I carried out a feasibility study, I realized that this company currently needs what we call um, a cloud migration. And then which service can they have the potential anyway to join? Then I realized because they are having already software as a service for around 10 years, so they have got some knowledge about the cloud solutions. However, the IT professionals need some kind of training. Then when I realized the gap analysis of this company, currently they don't have enough storage, and then they don't have enough infrastructures, which creates a need. And then when I looked at the people themselves, yes, they have some few experts there, but they need to have more uh, experts, and then others are just going to be trained on job. And then the governance here, this company does not have well stipulated policies and procedures for handling what you call the cloudy uh, solutions. Therefore, we need to improve some policies here and procedures. Then, when it comes to the security, so far this company has been currently using what we call firewalls to control the data traffic, and then data encryption as well, together with the single factor authentication. But here, because um, those are traditional ways of controlling or implementing security, but because we're just moving into the cloud, we just have to implement cloud native security tools here to enhance security in that environment. And when it came to the operations here, this company is lacking storage areas and infrastructures and so on. Then we're just going to migrate some of the data which is sensitive to, which is rather non-sensitive to the cloud environment, and then we retain the other one in the on-premise. Then when I looked at the potential vendors there, so far there are two which I'm just going to compare. That is the Microsoft Azure and then Amazon AWS. And then when I compared, when I ran a proof of concept, these people performed to our expectation. So we just performed that kind of experimental in an environmental, in an unproductive environment for around 10 days. And then we realized that all of them work best. However, there must be some remarkable differences that can make us decide. And when I went to their service legal agreements, I realized that these people's costs are relatively different. So when I came to the S3 standards being offered by AWS, the price of 450 terabytes per month is just going to give us a total of 9.42 per month. That is by multiplying 450 times 0.021, which is the cost per gigabyte. But when I compare it with the counterpart, that is Azure, the cost of a gigabyte is 0.0173. Therefore, when I multiply by 450, I just end up getting $7.785. That's the cost per month. So there is a difference in the charges here. Therefore, I would recommend my company to go for Azure. Then when I look at also the uptime front for Microsoft Azure and Amazon, it's also a remarkable difference. For someone who paid for availability less than 99, Microsoft Azure is paying service credit of 50%, whereas the other one is paying 30%. That makes a difference there. So therefore, I would emphasize and recommend Microsoft Azure. Then when I came to the migration principles, I would recommend my company to go for a hybrid migration, which implies that we shall be using both lift and shift and rip and replace. With the rip and replace, this would work best for my applications are not suiting the cloud environment, where I'm just going to tell the cloud uh, providers just to redesign my applications right from the scratch to suit the cloud native components. But with lift and shift, if at all there are some applications that are suiting the cloud environment, I would recommend to go for lift and shift because it is it does not consume time like the rip and replace. When it comes to data management, I would recommend my business to go for cloud service provider driven replication, where the data is going to be replicated in the cloud service provider's premises, which does not cost me any coin at all. Uh, Unlike this user driven type of replication, which would require some extra charges. When it comes to the data backup, I would recommend to my business to go for what we call the grandfather son. That is the GFS. The GFS name, which comes from the three levels of retention. The most common rotation which is used is the daily backup for 90 days. That is the son, and the weekly backup. That is 6 months. That is the father, and then the monthly backup. That's for 1 year. That's the grandfather. Then when it comes to location, I would prefer my data to be located in the cloud environment infrastructure. Then when it comes to financial management, I would recommend my business to go for what we call the charge backups, where resources are going to be tagged. Because my company is having a number of branches here, I would recommend each branch to pay for the resources used so far. And by tagging here, the resources are going to be tagged depending on each branch. And when it comes to the instances here, because I'm interested in instances as well, yeah, I'm going to pay using the reserved instance, because with the reserved instance, I'll be paying, I'll be paying for 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, but the cost will be cheaper as compared to when I pay per hour. And for the cases where I've been in need of just a temporary instance, I will just go for a spot instance where I'll be just paying for a little while, then I use the instance, and from there it is deleted. The license that I would go for is pay for use. And when I come to the assets, these companies have number of assets, both tangible and intangible. So we have got the trucks here that have got risks like being stolen in the parking garage. So the responses I would recommend my company to go for is to install more security cameras, and as well as installing the track devices in the track vehicles. So for the storage buildings and office buildings, we'll have some risks like the natural calamities, big fire. I would recommend my business to go for the transfer of risks, where the third party will be involved here, and here to be the insurance. I just insure all these assets to the insurance, and then in case of any incidents happening, I'll be liable to compensation. Then data, if at all I fail to retrieve data due to power blackout, then I'll install the standby generator, and then with this some sensitive data being corrupted and being stolen, I'll just use the access control lists for all those ones to restrict those ones who have access to the data, and as well as data encryption to have only authorized personnel have access. Thank you so much.